Yes, students, good morning. So, in the last lecture, we have discussed REST API. REST is representational state transfer APIs, and we are studying actually this REST APIs as a part of our Internet of Everything course (IOE). Technically, we have seen some of the what are REST APIs, then how they have evolved, what are the parallel technologies. So, some of the technologies were Java RPC, .NET Remoting, okay, decom, distributed component object models. These techniques allow us, or this even in this EJB, interface Java means that remote procedure, remote method invocation is there, or remote objects are there that we can invoke using CORBA technology, common object request broker architecture. That is for enterprise level, remoting purposes. So in IO, but our context here is IOE, Internet of or IoT deployments. Simply, here you are having this IoT deployment. So why we use REST API in IoT? Okay, so that briefly we'll study today, or means actually we have said I'll just briefly discuss is that when we are having these small capacity devices, okay, which can understand very simple protocol. Even HTTP is a big deal for them. So we have seen this. I'm having here this Arduino. Here you can see this Arduino is here, or Node MCU is here. So these are these are all coming under the category of microcontrollers, having very small RAM, flash ROM, and they don't have any OS, and simply just no small firmware they have, and with small compute capacity, they are what you can say performing certain predefined tasks which you can flash using the flash through these IDs, and they run in iterative or loop wise manner. So idea is that if I want to perform certain complex things, okay, so this machine is not capable, this node or this mode is not capable. So to make this thing happens, it need to take the external help. So this external help can be here. You can see that. So this web application, partner application, cloud-based service kind of thing. So I gave example of sending SMS. Maybe the coming lecture I will give you demo also, but SMS, sending SMS, so it needs some what you can say, either I should be able to attach this GSM module here, GSM module, and then connect and then send SMS. That is one aspect. Okay, that is also possible. Or if I am able to understand HTTP protocol, then I can call a REST API this interface and connect to a cloud service, and cloud service will send SMS for me without the need of any GSM model. So this is the beauty that REST API will give you. So this here REST API will interface with all what you can say backend, which backend infrastructure which is capable of sending SMS to this simple device. So they will have simple HTTP endpoint URLs which will accept the parameter, and this message will be sent actually from here, this cloud services. Okay, so this small device may get capacity of sending SMS. So this is the beauty that your REST API will import to your devices. So there's such many what you can say things where we have discussed in the last lecture. Now we'll move ahead and we'll see this comparison. So between SOAP and REST API briefly. So again, SOAP. This is a technology which is actually first is put forward by Microsoft. Let's put forward by Microsoft, and this is one of the technology that Microsoft has initiated, which is truly open interoperable. I'll say open source is also there, but interoperable means there is no platform independence. There is platform independence aspect is there when SOAP is there, because at the back end SOAP is XML based. SOAP is XML based. So because of that thing, it doesn't need Windows client at other end. Any device of any configuration who can understand XML can be what you can say part of this SOAP based applications. Okay, this is the idea. So what SOAP is doing? What is the objective? Again, I'll is what all your on the screen. That is one thing is there. That is just basic brief things. But understanding wise, I will tell you. Understanding wise, I will tell you. This is very important for your job interviews as well as understanding of SOAP. Okay, why it is there, why it is required as a technology. Okay, simple object access protocol, but why it is there? So again, coming back to this distributed applications. So we are having, for example, no client, suppose, or node one here, suppose one. It has got certain application running. Okay, maybe login or user information kind of thing. And this application wants to, okay, wants to, communication is one part, but trigger, or I'll say that extend its capability to another application which is at different machine. Like no, our enterprise central server is there, and it has got some service running which this application will be using for some purpose. So for example, if even if I'll say that for very simple use, I'll say at one place at the user and I will gather number from 1 to maybe 100. Any 10 random number user will enter, I will gather that number. This is one part. And then I want to find the maximum and minimum of this number by some process which is at the other end. This is the vertical thing I want to do. So part one, for example, is here and part two is here of my enterprise application. If I want to connect these two things, okay, SOAP will help me. I have to initially design my application in such a way that it is actually distributed applications. Okay, so at server end, there is not a what you can say big load, okay, because there will be hundreds and thousands of clients. So it will have an API which will maybe sort the number, find minimum, maximum, or maybe give the sum of the numbers kind of thing. So collection of number and uploading the number, that will be done by client side application. And these two parts, they will be connected together through SOAP based communication. Through SOAP based communication. So this is one example. So enterprise application development, okay, or enterprise application integration. So when enterprise applications are there, no, either you can go for no one from top to bottom kind of programming, write a very big application at one server end which will handle everything, which becomes complex as well as bottleneck is there. Or rather, you work in team, you have various modules, and this module communicate with each other using SOAP. So these modules are actually distributed modules are there. So distributed components will be there, and these components will be working together for giving impact or giving what you can say feel of or giving functionality of a much bigger applications. So enterprise applications are designed in this way, and this SOAP is enterprise application integration technology. Why it is here? Again, the question. If it is enterprise application integration, why we are studying this thing as a part of our IOE? So essence is that again, what it is allowing me to do. I'm having a client, I'm having another server, and these two clients and server they share different memory space. So using interoperable language like XML based commands, I can invoke certain methods on this server. So this is kind of REST functionality only. That's why we are actually studying this thing in the context of IoT, REST, and SOAP. So it is providing me the functionality which is similar to REST. But as REST came after SOAP, so many of the shortcomings that SOAP is having, REST is addressing. For even REST can be used for enterprise applications, as well as REST can be used for a simple IoT deployment, large scale IoT deployment. Both the things are possible. So yes, you can see that data and SOAP standards are there in case of SOAP, and then this envelope is there. You can see here. REST is like postcard, but SOAP is like using an envelope. So maybe data is inside the envelope, and then actually SOAP will carry the data to the server. In case of REST, it is very simple postcard type activities are there. So client, data, and it will use HTTP commands. So that is the beauty. That's why it is REST is like postcard. It doesn't REST APIs doesn't need additional protocol overhead like SOAP and XML. REST will directly, obviously, at backend REST is using XML, what you can say, based data exchange, and HTTP is carrying the data, but still it is very simple because HTTP is the one of the widely used protocol over the internet. So the moment you are able to talk on HTTP, done. You can easily connect and talk over the internet. and that will enable us to build application for Internet of Things. That's why REST is of more importance when we study this IoT. Okay, so this was one very important thing that I wanted to discuss. Just a minute. That I am audible. Yes, there. So this two exhibits we have seen in last, so I will not repeat that thing again. Yeah, here you can see REST and SOAP. They are compared side by side. So some things are REST, I think, at its core. Internet aligned architecture, okay, fits in limited client capabilities. Like now we have seen that for small client also, which are able to talk with HTTP, yes, talk REST can be in what you can say compatible there. And here they don't require any proxy. Directly this APIs can be invoked. Okay, so they allow this no remote resource access using REST commands, REST APIs. Okay, and SOAP, it is actually message level encryption. Message exchange is there, simple object access protocol. It has its own routing mechanism. Okay, means when you have this enterprise deployment, then this they have to have no object directory, then naming convention to name the object, retrieve the object. N number of things are there in SOAP. That infrastructure we have to set up, and mainly on private premises, SOAP is deployed. Okay, for example, no, like for a bank, we'll have a distributed application. So banking will have their own enterprise application setup, and it will act on SOAP. Okay, and yes, it is having its own control policy how these objects are accessed, and action based event based triggering is there for SOAP. So mainly it is having its own XML based interface. Here it is having HTTP, and more flexible. REST is more flexible, and additional infrastructure means you in your project you can simply call any REST APIs. But in order to call SOAP, you will have to at least have some credential setup and policy assigned to your device. Then you can go for SOAP based actions. Okay, so that is the idea. So without any additional effort, simple any API that is REST compatible, yes, you can go ahead and consume that API. Okay, and both allow you remote operation, remote resource access, and both are interoperable. That is the this word is very important. Interoperable. Remember this thing, my friends. SOAP and REST interoperable. It is not like that both in Java and Java is required. No, this is need when you are having Corba installation. Corba needs no enterprise Java beans or even .NET objects. So same what you can say clients, and both this client and server all has to be on the same platform, same enterprise standard. This Corba is just similarly like a framework, common object request broker architecture. So it is having the same functionality, remote object access, remote objects which are there. Like now we are having this SMS sending object, that access Corba is giving you. Enterprise application development. So enterprise Java beans they support Corba like this thing. So then here in Microsoft, it is totally this SOAP is interoperable. So you don't have to have no Windows client at both end or .NET client at both end. So it is mainly the SOAP. This actually they put forward one technology called as web services, and these web services they exchange using SOAP and XML. So truly interoperable concept is there. Okay, that is very important. And in IoT, things are quite no heterogeneous. Means all there are different type of like we I just shown you this thing. One is Arduino, one is this what you can say Node MCU. Then we may have no one gateway device having Raspberry Pi, and all these devices communicate with each other. So Raspberry Pi may have Windows. These small devices they have their own framework or firmware, and they communicate with each other. So totally possible. If device is able to understand HTTP, you can communicate. That's all. That is single line conclusion for REST APIs. Okay. Yeah. So we have actually discussed this thing. I want to discuss another slide. Yeah. So yes, REST is good for web services, smaller message size, limited bandwidth communication, which is IoT, limited resources. So no XML parsing is required for REST, only HTTP communication. exposing data over internet, IoT, and combining content from many different sources into a web browser. This is REST is good for that purpose. And SOAP, here you can see enterprise services, enterprise application integration. Remember this thing. So many of you, those who will be working in enterprise. So again, SOAP is a standard, my friends. Remember, you can implement SOAP-based communication in Java, in .NET, or interoperable. Everything is possible. So SOAP is a standard. REST is also a communication API interface. Okay, REST is also a standard. So standard to in order to communicate over HTTP. Then transact with web services, remote methods. Then it is having its own web services security. Asynchronous processing, REST is also synchronous. Then contact first development, stateful and conversation APIs. These are enterprise application support and tooling support. So they have with SOAP, and both of them are for distributed application. What you can say development here. So here you can see typical IO, IoT deployment having the various uh, technologies which using RESTful API interfaces there. So at the down side, you can see that MongoDB, and they are having PubSub based no interface for this RabbitMQ message queue is there. So MQTT server, COAP client, HTTP client. So typical IoT deployment and then information flow can be seen here. Okay. And at the back end, you can see these databases. They are communicating with the your COAP client to push the data. In MQTT server, your request and the center readings are there. Streaming management is there. Now these are the parallel, what you can say, technologies for no remoting purpose, or how remotely you can go for this thing. So this SOAP and REST we have discussed. What are other things? So JSON RPC, remote procedure call, gRPC, and graph query language and Thrift. All these things they are actually doing the some or other way remote method invocation or remote object access kind of activity. So SOAP, I just told you, one of the oldest one developed by Microsoft. Formatting type is XML. It is using and widely used and established enterprise level application integration is there. This REST they come much later as compared to your SOAP, and it is with JSON and XML libraries, flexible data formatting, and small capacity devices, constrained devices. It is very much suitable. JSON RPC mid 2000. It is using JavaScript object notification, simple and implemented simplicity. Again, it is using JSON. Here you can see RPC and JSON RPC, REST and JSON RPC, gRPC. Okay, protocol buffers here are available in this thing. Remote procedure, remote method invocation is possible here with gRPC. By 2015, it was released. GraphQL 2015 is a JSON, and for flexible, it allows flexible data structuring. Again, for remote data exchange, remote procedure call kind of thing activities are there. Thrift, JSON or binary data exchange, and applicable for many use cases. So here again, some other comparisons can be seen. So commonly used architecture now for because of IO deployment, REST is getting more and more accuracy. It is synchronous. Pardon, I said asynchronous. So because it is using HTTP only, so it is using synchronous communication. GraphQL, synchronous, asynchronous both. gRPC, asynchronous communication. See, synchronous and asynchronous, why it is what you can say important, because the way client and these two nodes they communicate in a synchronous, when synchronous communication is there, both the parties should be what you can say aligned when this communication is happening. Aligned in the sense that timing consideration, they should exchange the what you can say handshake and says yes, I am ready for communication, and then start communicating. Asynchronous, you have to just pass the message, send with like I'm putting a stamp address and send the message. Whether the party is available or not, it will go for best effort delivery, and once the message is reached, you may receive the acknowledgement kind of thing. So yes, design based on HTTP for REST. Here design based on message exchange and space protobuf as a space standard. This is gRPC is using. Okay, so JSON payload default is JSON, XML both possible here. JSON and serialized payload defaults are there. So here we complete. Let me end the presentation and live streaming. Thank you.